For a country that occupies just a small corner of the continent, Portugal seems to have collected an unfair number of things people travel to Europe for. World-class wine, golden beaches, colorful, strollable cities, hilltop villages, fresh seafood, centuries of history, and the stories to go along with it. And over the next 10 days, we're exploring Portugal from top to bottom. We partnered with Go Ahead Tours to bring 25 subscribers on an unforgettable journey across Portugal. So if you're planning a trip for yourself or just looking for a little travel inspiration, this is everything that we saw, tasted, and experienced along the way. We begin in Porto. Chris and I arrived a couple of days early to settle in and shake off the jet lag. Now, if you find yourself with some extra time in this charming city, make sure you're hungry and thirsty. One of the first things to try is Vinho Verde, Portugal's famous green wine. Now, despite its name, it's not actually green. It's a light, crisp, and slightly fizzy wine produced in northern Portugal. It's incredibly refreshing, especially on a sunny patio overlooking the Douro River. Of course, no visit to Porto would be complete without tracking down a francesinha. This gloriously over-the-top local specialty starts with layers of bread, steak, ham, and sausage, and it's all smothered in melted cheese and then drenched in a rich tomato and beer sauce. Very much a Porto rite of passage. Chris opted for the grilled octopus instead, which will be the first of many on this trip. And while you'll find plenty of incredible food throughout Portugal, if there is only one thing I could eat for the rest of my life, it would be pastel de nata. Perfectly crispy, flaky pastry wrapped around a silky custard filling and served a little bit warm and usually with a dusting of cinnamon. A true Portuguese food group, if you will. My favorite comes from this place, where you can watch them be made fresh throughout the day. Since we found ourselves in town a couple of nights before the tour started, we decided to splurge a little and book ourselves into this hotel overlooking the Douro River. I've always wanted to stay here, and I'm so happy we finally got the chance to try it. It's located right beside Porto's famous bridge, making it really easy to explore both the historic Ribeira district and the Gaia waterfront, which is home to the city's legendary port wine cellars. Inside, it's super trendy and modern, and the best part is the outdoor terrace. It's got a small pool and a great bar area, so you can enjoy the gorgeous sunset. Now here's a little look at our room. It's not huge, but very nice and modern, and we were able to get a king-size bed, plus a couple of pastries when we checked in, so we love that. We checked in at night, so here's the view from our window, and then here's a picture of what it looked like the next morning. Just stunning. Just looks like a painting. Now back to the room though, the bathroom was actually fantastic. We had robes and slippers and a really nice big walk-in shower. The next day, our Portugal tour officially began, and so we moved down the street and checked into our group tour hotel. We were welcomed with a tasting of local port wine at check-in, which felt very on brand for Porto, especially since the hotel actually has its own wine cellar on site. The hotel also had this beautiful outdoor pool with like Italian villa vibes. And I also just want to show you the room here as well to give you an idea of the types of hotels that you would stay at on a group tour like this. And the room was really nice too. And it was actually a pretty good size, so it was nice to have a little breathing room, you know? Then we met up with our group for a welcome reception in the hotel. We all got to choose a glass of local wine, and this is where we met our tour director and fellow travelers. I attempted to give somewhat of a welcome speech, and then we all kind of introduced ourselves, and then we just dove right into dinner. And by the end of the evening, everyone was already having a great time, getting to know each other, having some drinks, and just getting excited for the trip. A really great way to start out. So the next morning, we set out on a walking tour of Porto, weaving our way through the narrow streets that are just lined with centuries-old buildings and soaking up the city's just like beautiful old world charm. Along the way, we passed some of Porto's most iconic landmarks, including the São Bento train station, which is very famous for its beautiful walls of hand-painted blue and white tiles, and they tell all kinds of stories of Portugal's history. And of course, every good walking tour needs a snack break, and in Portugal, that means one thing: coffee and a pastel de nata. I think Porto can be considered one of the most picturesque cities in all of Europe. You will absolutely fall in love with it. All the narrow streets are full of character and charm and built along the hillsides overlooking the mouth of the Douro River. There's over 2,000 years of history here, so much to see and learn, and there's something for everyone. And since the sun decided to make an appearance, we did what anyone should do when visiting Porto: find a sunny patio, order a glass of vino verde or maybe a spritz, and just enjoy the day. But we still had an entire afternoon ahead of us, so we crossed the river to the Gaia side of town, stopping along the way to admire one of the most iconic views of the city. And then just after crossing the bridge, we found a stand selling ginja. And since this was Chris's first trip to Portugal, I couldn't resist introducing him to one of the country's favorite little traditions. Now, some of the best views of Porto are from the waters of the Douro River. So we hopped aboard a relaxing river cruise and then drifted beneath Porto's famous bridges. We passed the colorful buildings and all the historic wine lodges, some church towers, and the beautiful terraced hillsides along the way. And because we were a group, we basically had the whole boat to ourselves, so we were able to have some fun, get a little silly, and take some fun photos together. After that, it was time for one of Porto's most famous exports. You can't spell Porto without port, and this world-famous fortified wine has been intertwined with the city's identity for centuries, I think. So back on shore, we visited one of the region's historic wine cellars for a guided tour. Inside, we learned how port wine is produced, aged, blended, and stored, as well as the fascinating history behind an industry that helped put Porto on the map. And of course, no visit would be complete without a tasting of the cellar's world-famous vintages. And if you find yourself in the area with more time and more cravings for port wine tastings, there's a little spot along the promenade that does a lovely tasting of 5 local port wines for €8. I'll put the name of it on the screen here. For dinner that night, we head to one of Porto's oldest restaurants. I actually ate here on my last trip to Porto, and I loved it so much that I had to go back. It feels less like a restaurant and more like you've been invited into someone's home for dinner. And the menu was filled with traditional Portuguese comfort food, and everything we ordered was fantastic. Add a glass of port wine, a little dessert to finish the evening, and it was the perfect way to wrap up our visit to Porto. Today, we woke up to a little rain as we left Porto and began our journey south, making a stop in the historic city of Coimbra. Home to Portugal's first university, Coimbra often gets overlooked by visitors rushing between Porto and Lisbon. The university was founded in 1290, making it one of the oldest in Europe, and we spent the morning exploring the historic hilltop campus, but the real star of the show was the university's breathtaking Baroque library. It was completed in 1728, and it looks like something straight out of Beauty and the Beast. The library houses more than 60,000 books dating from the 16th to the 18th centuries, and it's considered one of the most beautiful libraries in the world. Unfortunately, photography is strictly prohibited inside. In fact, they were even making people delete photos from their phones if they were caught taking them. So since I couldn't show you my own footage, here's a couple of photos from the university's website to give you an idea of how spectacular it is. After our tour, we had some free time to explore the city center medieval streets. And you know what? The weather gave me the perfect excuse to track down one of the region's most famous pastries. These delicate treats are made from impossibly thin layers of pastry wrapped around a sweet egg custard filling. And with the pastry portion of the day successfully completed, it was time to move on to lunch. Now, one of my favorite things about traveling through Portugal is that every region seems to have its own dish it's proud of, and Coimbra is no exception. In this part of the country, that dish is chanfana. It's traditionally made with goat, which is slow cooked for hours in red wine, garlic, and bay leaves and spices, and it's rich and hearty and exactly the kind of meal you want on a cool, rainy afternoon. I think this might have been my favorite meal of the whole trip. After lunch, we continued south into the Alentejo, a vast region of rolling countryside that's often described as the Tuscany of Portugal. This is a land of cork tree forests, vineyards, olive groves, little villages, and some of the country's most celebrated food and wine. And as luck would have it, the weather seemed to improve with every kilometer we traveled. By late afternoon, the blue skies had returned just in time for our arrival in Evora, one of Portugal's best preserved medieval walled cities. We have made it to our hotel in Evora, and I don't know if you can see, but behind me there are the castle walls. So our hotel is actually inside this medieval walled city. And just look at this beautiful pool and courtyard area. The sun was shining and we arrived at the perfect time to unwind and relax and enjoy a poolside drink or two before dinner. Now here's a quick room tour. It was quaint, but we had plenty of room and lots of beautiful light. We had coffee and water available, and a fun little regal-looking bathroom, complete with a French bidet and a nice big window overlooking the courtyard and the city walls. And here's a photo of someone's view from the other side of the hotel. Super cute all around. For dinner that night, we strolled through the town walls in search of one of the region's most famous dishes. Fortunately, it's a local favorite, so it wasn't difficult. The dish in question is this, and it's one of the most unique combinations you'll find anywhere in Portugal. Think of it as the Portuguese answer to surf and turf. There's tender marinated pork, and that's paired with fresh clams, as well as crispy fried potatoes, garlic, white wine, and plenty of cilantro. And because Chris appears to be physically incapable of ignoring octopus when it's on a Portuguese menu, that's exactly what he ordered. This morning featured one of the experiences I had been looking forward to the most, a visit to a cork factory. Portugal produces more than half of the world's cork supply, making the cork oak tree one of the country's most important natural resources. I had never really thought too much into it about where cork comes from, but it was fascinating to learn how it's harvested. Unlike most wood products, the bark is carefully stripped from the tree without harming it, allowing the same tree to continue producing cork for decades. We got to see the entire process firsthand, from freshly harvested bark to the finished products that end up in homes and stores around the world. And as it turns out, cork isn't just for wine bottles. It's used to make everything from flooring and insulation to handbags and shoes. Getting to touch the raw bark and comparing it to the finished products was super interesting. And let's just say it was a good thing there was a time limit for visiting the gift shop, because I just know my carry-on was getting quite nervous just thinking about me being in there. Now, once we finally pried ourselves away from the gift shop, it was time to see a little more of Evora. So we made our way back to town for a walking tour of one of the most charming places in the country. When you step through its 14th century walls, it really does feel like you've entered a completely different era. We just love all the narrow cobblestone streets and the whitewashed buildings, all these hidden corners and layers of history around every turn. And in some ways, this place, it's hard to explain, but this place just really feels like the real Portugal. Evora's story stretches back more than 2,000 years. The Romans settled here in the 2nd century, and their influence still remains all throughout the city today. Over the centuries, the Moors, the Portuguese kings, monks, and noble families all left their mark, creating a very fascinating mix of Roman ruins, medieval streets, churches, palaces, and convents. Now, one of the most famous highlights is the Chapel of Bones, a 16th century chapel whose walls and columns are lined with thousands of human skulls and bones. The monastery was mostly destroyed during the French invasion in the early 1800s, but the chapel remained intact, perhaps due to fear of what would happen if it was torn down. And above the entrance, a rather spooky message greets visitors. I believe it translates to, "We bones that lay here, wait for your bones." Now, on a slightly less creepy note, another highlight is the Evora Cathedral, and it's considered one of the finest Gothic buildings in Portugal. Its distinctive towers rise above the city and can be seen from almost anywhere within the old walls. And if you're willing to climb up onto the rooftop, you're rewarded with sweeping views over Evora's terracotta rooftops and the rolling Alentejo countryside stretching into the distance. A few steps away stands the Roman Temple, one of the most recognizable landmarks in Evora. It was built in the 1st century and has survived for nearly 2,000 years. Now, if you're going to spend time in the Tuscany of Portugal, we're not leaving without trying a little more of the local cuisine. So for lunch, I had to try one of the Alentejo specialty soups. I can't remember the name of this one in particular, but it's very well known, and it's got crusty bread, garlic and olive oil, a nice helping of cilantro, and fish, and a poached egg. Oh, and look at that! Chris somehow managed to find more octopus. This time it was a little more intact. And with that, our time in the Alentejo comes to an end, as we make our way south to the beach-lined Algarve region. One of the best things about a group tour is that we have our own bus for the entire trip, and that makes it so easy to get around and not having to worry about arranging transportation. So our home base for 2 nights was in Lagos, at the Tivoli Resort Hotel. This is quite the complex. There's tons of areas to explore, open lounge areas, and my favorite was this lovely little balcony and view from my room, where I absolutely enjoyed a nice hot coffee each morning. We had a couple of hours to unwind, enjoy the sunshine, and settle into life in the Algarve. I really liked the pacing of this itinerary and our schedule for this tour. We covered a lot of ground and saw so many places, but at the exact perfect moments when we needed it, there was built-in time to relax and do our own thing. And for dinner that night, we gathered for a lovely group meal. And unfortunately, the only footage we have is from the very beginning, because once the wine started flowing and the stories started flying, we completely forgot about filming. We had so much fun just hanging out and having a great evening with everyone, and we may or may not have somehow ended up at a nearby Irish pub at the end of the night. Then we had a full day to immerse ourselves in all the beauty that is the Algarve. We explored the cliffs and views at the southwesternmost point of mainland Europe. This is St. Vincent, and it's quite a special viewpoint because for centuries, people believed this was the edge of the known world. And the little 0-kilometer marker was a fun photo stop, which symbolizes the end of the road and, in a way, the end of Europe itself. Then it was back to Lagos for the best kind of afternoon. Absolutely no schedule. Lagos is the perfect hub to get everything you might want from a quick visit to the Algarve. All the cute little streets, there's so many restaurants and cafes, walkable to all the golden beaches, and great food and views. A couple of spots we loved were the Garden Restaurant. This is where they have a barbecue fish plate, which is a famous way of serving it in this region. Basically, the catch of the day is cooked over an open charcoal grill. It's rubbed with salt and then grilled whole until the skin is crispy. Then it's finished with a drizzle of olive oil. And then we found this place called Sky Bar. It's an awesome little rooftop bar. It's got a plunge pool and some nice views looking out over the town and the rooftops. The drinks were not considered cheap by any means, but the vibe was chill and the view was great. It was also an absolutely gorgeous day. As for time of year, this was late April, early May. Some people headed out on a sunset cruise, others spent the afternoon beach hopping, and a few of us just simply found a patio or two. That's the one thing I love about these trips is everyone gets to travel their own way while still sharing the overall experience together. As much as none of us wanted to leave the Algarve behind, Portugal still had one more incredible chapter waiting for us: Lisbon. And just before we pulled into the city, our tour director surprised us with a little pit stop at this amazing viewpoint, which is inspired by Rio's Christ the Redeemer in Brazil. At 100 feet tall, it's massive and quite the sight. And there's also this incredible viewpoint of the 25th of April Bridge, which was constructed by the same company that built the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Then we checked into our Lisbon hotel, where we would stay for 4 nights. Here's what our room looks like, and we actually had a nice little view, although the camera lens makes it look farther away than it actually is. We had coffee and water provided, as well as a little refrigerator. After check-in, we had a few free hours to explore, so naturally I rounded up anyone interested in snacks and drinks, and then led a DIY walking, food, and drink tour of Lisbon. Lisbon is famous for its many viewpoints, and one of my favorites is this one. As you can see, it's just got those iconic panoramic views of all the colorful buildings built into the hilltops, as well as the imposing walls of the castle in the distance. There's also a nice big terrace area, which is kind of like a little beer garden vibe, so you bet we stopped for a little refreshing day drink. Next, we made our way through the narrow streets to find some lunch, so we went to one of my favorite rooftops, Carmo. And we're in Portugal, so yes, there was wine with lunch. This place has amazing views, and although there was a little construction and scaffolding, it still passes the vibe check, and it's a great spot for trying some appetizers, pizza, and charcuterie. Now, there are very few places I will go if I've seen them on TikTok, but this is one that lives up to the hype. This is one of the original places in town selling their local cherry liqueur since the mid-1800s, I believe. Also, at this point, we had been in Lisbon for a few hours without eating a pastel de nata, so naturally, we had to rectify that. But for my favorite stop of the day, we went to another tiny little hidden gem, serving what can only be described as a pastel de nata in liquid form. More specifically, an espresso martini inspired by Portugal's most beloved pastry. These are absolutely to die for, and the perfect way to kickstart a fun evening. And what a fun evening it was. That evening, we headed into Lisbon's historic Alfama district, the birthplace of Fado. Fado is a traditional Portuguese style of music known for its deeply emotional songs about love, loss, longing, and life's ups and downs. Accompanied by the distinctive sound of the Portuguese guitar, the performances are intimate, powerful, and filled with feeling. And even if you don't understand a single word of Portuguese, you can still feel the emotion behind every song. Even our Portuguese tour director said the same. Sometimes he can't even make out the words, but it doesn't matter. It's all about feeling the power behind it. The experience comes with a wonderful, hearty dinner. It's served with plenty of wine, where we can chat and mingle. But then when it's time for a song, the place must be silent. It's an incredible performance, so if you're visiting Lisbon, I think seeing a Fado show should be at the top of your list. Having spent the evening listening to the soundtrack of Alfama, we returned the next morning to discover the place that inspired it. So we set out to explore Lisbon's oldest neighborhood with Carolina, an incredible local guide. We wandered through Alfama's storybook alleyways, we stopped at some spectacular viewpoints, and we learned the stories behind all the churches, the squares, and historic corners that make this neighborhood so special. After our morning tour, we were set free for the rest of the afternoon. So a few of us broke off for lunch, and we found this amazing local spot run by the sweetest lady. And on this day, it was actually Mother's Day in Portugal. And so when we asked her why she was working, she simply said that feeding the people is her favorite thing to do. So all the ladies had to take a photo with her to remember forever. Now, Lisbon is known as the City of Seven Hills, so we definitely got our steps in, but this is never a problem, because there's always a little ginja stand waiting for you if you need a break. And after spending the week eating our way across Portugal, it was finally time to learn how to make some of it ourselves. So we gathered for a Portuguese cooking class. This was so much fun and a great way to mingle and laugh and connect, because this was actually our last night with the full group. We learned how to make piri-piri chicken from scratch, as well as a delicious shrimp appetizer, and then my favorite part, dessert, homemade pastel de nata. Because apparently eating one every day wasn't enough, now I can bring the addiction home with me. And then we got to sit down together as one big happy family to eat our glorious dinner that we made. This served as our farewell dinner for those ending their journey with us here. One of the things I love about go-ahead tours is that many of the itineraries offer extension options, allowing travelers to continue on if they want a little bit more time. And so with that, we cheersed, reminisced over the last 8 days, making memories and long-lasting friendships and new travel buddies as we toured and ate and drank our way through Portugal. Thank you to all the incredible friends who joined us on this trip. Between the wine, the castles, the stunning scenery, and enough food to keep us all very happy, Portugal worked its magic. This made it so easy for a group of strangers to become a group of friends pretty quickly. And that's one of my favorite things about traveling like this. If you've ever considered joining one of our future group trips, this is exactly why we do them. As we said goodbye to a few of our fellow travelers, most of us actually stayed behind for the optional extension, which meant a couple more days of exploring before heading home. One of those days took us to Sintra, a fairy tale-like town tucked away into the forested hills outside of Lisbon. Once a retreat for Portuguese royalty, Sintra is famous for its extravagant palaces, colorful villas, and misty mountain setting that feels completely different from the rest of Portugal. The crown jewel is Pena Palace, one of the most recognizable landmarks in the country. It's perched high on a hilltop, and it's got bright yellow and red towers and this very whimsical architecture. It makes it look like something straight out of a storybook. And there's a fascinating love story behind this place too. After touring Pena Palace, we had some free time to explore Sintra itself, which also feels every bit as magical as the palace. And in the early 1800s, the poet Lord Byron famously called Sintra the most beautiful town in the world. And it's very easy to see why. And when I have free time in Portugal, that can only mean one thing: finding the local pastries. And Sintra is famous for two of them. The first one is this one, and it's a flaky, pillow-shaped pastry filled with a sweet almond and egg cream. And the second is queijada de Sintra, a small tart, kind of like a non-sweet cheesecake. It was okay, but I like the first one better. And funny enough, we found a cute little bar called Lord Byron, and they serve ginger espresso martinis, you guys. To put a storybook ending on our final full day in Portugal, we set off on a day trip to 3 very different but equally awesome destinations, all within easy reach of Lisbon. Our first stop was Batala, home to a massive Gothic monastery that's been standing here for more than 600 years. The amount of detail carved into the stone it's incredible. And the stained glass work is phenomenal, and photos just do not do this place justice. We were all in awe. Next, we headed to the fishing village of Nazare for lunch and some truly breathtaking coastal views. Nazare is famous for its giant waves, some of the largest ever surfed at about 80 feet high. But unless you're visiting in winter, what you'll probably notice first is just how gorgeous it is. The beach seems to stretch forever, and the water is this brilliant shade of turquoise and blue, and the whole town has that relaxed seaside atmosphere. And if you're up at the top where the viewpoint is, make sure you take the funicular down, or up if you're starting from the beach area. Last time I was here, we only stopped at the viewing area up top, so I had no idea how beautiful the beach area and the town really was. There's tons of shops and restaurants and cafes and little alleyways to explore. I think next time I would definitely come back and spend a full day or 2 here. And finally, we arrived in Obidos. I think this is one of the most enchanting places in all of Portugal. If you've ever wanted to wander around a real-life medieval village, this is it. You can actually walk along the top of the castle walls, looking down over the maze of all the whitewashed houses. The phrase "fit for a queen" is especially appropriate here. For centuries, Portuguese kings gifted Obidos to their queens as a wedding present, creating a tradition that earned the town its nickname, the Town of Queens. And of course, no visit to Obidos would be complete without trying ginja. You'll find this famous Portuguese cherry liqueur all over the country, like we have throughout the video, but Obidos has become especially known for its own tradition, serving it in the tiny edible chocolate cups. And come prepared, there's a ginja stand about every 10 feet. So make sure you do your part and support the local economy at least 2 or 3 times. To everyone who joined us on this trip, thank you so much for making it such a special experience. Portugal has become one of my favorite countries I've ever visited, and getting to share it with such an amazing group of travelers made it even more memorable. We cannot wait to do more of these. We already have Greece coming up in a few months, and hopefully we'll be announcing more for next year. If you'd like to be the first to access when those are released, make sure you're on my group trips email list linked below. And if Portugal has found its way onto your travel bucket list, the good news is that Go Ahead Tours runs this amazing itinerary several times throughout the year. So I've left the link to a couple of their amazing Portugal tours in the video description and comments below. Thank you so much for coming along, and hopefully we'll see you on a future adventure somewhere in the world.